streaming on a camera with me in front of it, so there'll probably be a few hiccups as I do the live stream. But I'd like to show you the storm we're having at the moment. So I'm here in North Scotland, and storms aren't too unusual. We get a lot of storms in winter time and a few in summer as well. What's really unusual about this one is how strong it is during the summer. So I'll just spin around now, so I'll turn the right camera around so you can see what's going on. So it looks like a lovely sunny day, and I'll explain that later on why it's not such a nice sunny day, but we're getting a storm. But basically, we've got a storm coming in now called Storm Floris. Winds are going to get up to about 90 mile an hour gusts. In my area, we're probably going to get 80 mile an hour gusts. If you can't hear me properly, do let me know. I have got my special wind-free microphone on, but it'll be definitely putting it to the test in today's video. So yeah, I'll switch back to my face and give you a background of the plants, and then I'll talk a bit about, as I say, the storm. So the storm's coming through. This is just the start of it. It's a bit unusual, as I say, because normally we get very strong winds in winter, but we don't get very strong winds in the summertime. So my garden is mainly tropicals with bananas and things like that, and they're herbaceous. So, oh, that's great. Thanks, Kay. I'm glad you can hear me correctly. So, yeah, with the herbaceous plants, they're normally back in the ground level by now, in the winter, sorry. So when we do get the storms, I don't really get much damage in my garden. But because we're getting the storm in the middle of summer, all my plants are above ground, and so this wind is going to do a lot more damage than it would if we had it in the winter time. So you can see here, it's really starting to whip against my banana tree here. So yeah, the storm is a bit different for the time of year, but also because of the way the mountains are set up here in Scotland, if we get really strong winds and the storm winds go over the mountains, it takes all the rain out of this weather system, and we end up with really sunny, windy weather that's really warm and hot. So it was 12 degrees and torrential rain about 2 hours ago. Then the winds changed direction. Now the mountains are stopping the winds. We are getting beautiful sunny blue skies, and it's right up to 20 degrees. And in about 1 hour's time, the winds are forecast to change again, and it's going to be torrential rain, and it's going to be quite cool, probably about 12 degrees again. So we're just getting about 2 or 3 hours of lovely sunshine and no rain, but this is a great window for me to go out and show you the storm before it gets to its peak, and it will peak in about 2 or 3 hours time. So what I will do is I'm going to probably come back after the storm has hit really bad, late afternoon, and show you the damage that it's done. And it should hopefully the garden won't look too different by then, but we're not sure how much damage we're going to get. So I'm going to switch the camera around now, and I'll show you how the garden looks to give you a better view. So here we have the front of the house. So the front of the house at the moment is a little bit sheltered. Luckily for these winds, it's mostly a southwesterly or westerly wind we're getting. My house faces south, so if there's a westerly wind, the house itself will protect my front garden. And then to the south, I've got this hedge. So any southerly winds are protected to about 6 foot in height. So that's going to help out the garden a bit. So my ensetis, they should be okay. They tend to be a lot more wind resistant than my other bananas. Also, they're kind of nestled right in against the house, so I don't think there'll be too much damage there. Also, with my bedding plants down here in the pots, I think they'll be mostly fine. The lilies, though, they're probably going to get quite damaged. I didn't really have enough canes to tie everything up, so I've not tied up all my lily plants, but they're just coming to the end of their flowering anyway, so I don't mind if I lose the flowers, as long as the main stems don't get broken, because if the main stems get broken, then it's going to struggle to store the energy for next year's flowers. Now, sunflower here, I've taken all the flower heads off to prepare it for the storm. This is just to reduce the weight, so that hopefully it's less likely to catch the wind and it's not going to snap. It's also well secured with a cane and twine, and it's next to the house, so that one should be fine. Now, I do also have a sunflower up here, and I always grow a sunflower in the corner of the house here. It's the sunniest location I have, but it is a bit windswept. Unfortunately, because I'm at an end terrace house, there's the big gap here between the two terraces, and each terrace is about 40 to 50 meters long, so the wind gets channeled through this gap, and it's a real wind tunnel. So this can sometimes catch the wind quite badly. And you can see that flower head on the top was quite heavy. I don't want to cut it off because I'd like to collect the seeds from this one this year. but this one is at quite a big risk of falling over. I have staked it and it is twined up, but you might have to add some extra twine later today if it does look like it might go. But I am limited to how much I can really stake, as it is quite a large sunflower. So I'll go have a look at the rest of the front garden here. So this is probably the bit of the garden that's going to be the most sheltered, because I've got the hedge. So as long as it's a southerly wind or westerly wind, we should be okay. So hopefully, yeah, it won't get too shredded. You can see the leaves really getting shredded by the banana already. Now, I think I will add about my bananas is I have tried to prep them for the wind. So banana trees, they're not the best against the wind, but they do have one strategy that can help them survive it. And that's that the leaves get shredded. So you can see here, the leaves are shredded. What that does is it doesn't catch the wind as much, like a sail, and the wind can blow through the leaves. And that way the little sections of leaves can move independently, and it's not going to have such a sail effect. So the problem I find is often the winds come quite suddenly, and before the wind can shred the leaves, the wind just comes in and snaps them. So what I've done is the most exposed leaves, so the ones at the top of the plant, I've already pre-shredded them by ripping them, and that's hopefully going to give them a little bit of protection. The leaves down below, I haven't shredded all of these, so you can see this one here. It's got a couple of tears already. They're not tears that I made, that's the wind doing that. And the wind will continue to shred that. But as I say, if there's a sudden strong gust of wind and it's not been shredded already, then it can just snap the whole leaf off sometimes. So that's the biggest risk for the bananas. I don't mind if the leaves get shredded. I don't like the appearance so much, but the plant can still photosynthesize and use the leaves just as well as before. But if the whole leaf gets snapped off, then that's a whole big leaf that's lost, and it's going to be a big problem for the plant to continue growing. Thanks, Kay, for the concerns. Yeah, hopefully the house should be fine. My house has survived 100-mile-an-hour winds before, so I'm not too worried about the house, as we often get very strong winds here in winter, but certainly the garden is probably going to take quite a battering, I think. So I've got another banana plant over here. This one again, I've pre-shredded, and hopefully this one will be all right. It's got a fairly thick stem, that one, so I'm not too worried. That's my Musa sequamensis. This is my Musa acuminata grand name, which is the edible banana, but the stem on this one is actually quite thin. Kind of hard to show you with this leaf here, but it's got quite a thin stem and it's quite flexible, so hopefully it bends in the wind, it doesn't just snap, but being quite thin, I'm not too sure how strong it's going to be. And the only other thing I'm a bit worried about in this front garden is the dahlias. So I've gone ahead and I've taken off all the flowers off the dahlias, and it's just basically the flower buds left. That's just to reduce the amount of weight on the plants, and also to make sure that there's less space or less surface area for the wind to catch. Hopefully my Wi-Fi continues throughout the whole stream. I think it should do. When we go into the back garden, we'll be further away from my router, so there's a chance that the stream might drop. But you can see here, well, sorry, there's a very strong gust coming through. It kind of making me a bit unsteady on my feet right now. But anyway, there's the plants in the wind. You can see the bananas really getting hit bad because that hedge is doing the job of protecting it. I actually felt quite sheltered by the house, but now I'm here, the hedge drops down and it's a bit less sheltered. So yeah, basically you can see the bananas there higher than the hedge are getting really battered by the wind, but these lower plants, the dahlias, are actually surviving quite well at the moment. So hopefully they'll be all right. We'll just have to see how the wind does. If it gets even more powerful, then they could get damaged. And if the wind changes direction, they could get damaged as well. So if we get a northerly wind coming from this direction, I've got pretty much nothing protecting me on that side. So the full force of the wind will come in and really damage everything. But hopefully it continues with a westerly, southwesterly, and then we should be okay. And most of the dahlias will hopefully survive. And certainly any of the ground cover plants will be absolutely fine. They're plenty low enough, they won't be damaged. But what I have done to try and help my dahlias is I've tied them all up. So you can see I have got stakes on them, and then I've just bound them all together with twine. So it's a bit like the old, I think it's an old proverb where if you have one, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but where they have one arrow and it's easily snapped, and then you put a bundle of arrows together and you can't break it. The similar thing with a lot of plants, if you're trying to secure them from the wind. If you have one stem, or lots of individual stems moving around the wind, they'll easily get snapped. But if you can tie them up in a bundle, such as these here, then it's much more likely that they're going to hold strong together and they won't get damaged by the wind. And so the only other plants to show here are my laburnum trees. So I will just switch the camera around. So the laburnum trees are behind me there. These ones are quite mature and they've got pretty good, well-rooted root system. So this one here, I'm not worried about that one at all. That one's nice and solid. But this one on this side, unfortunately, it has had quite a wobbly root system in the past. So I've tied up a rope there and it's attached to my hedge. My hedge has got some very mature stumps in it because it was a lot bigger at one point and then it was reduced in size. So it's completely solid. That's holding it secure for now. And hopefully it holds, but we'll just see how it does with the storm. As long as it's from the west and south, which is what it's forecast, it'll be fine because that's where the rope is. If it blows the other way, I don't have anything supporting it from the other way, then it probably will fall down. But we'll see how that does. So I'll spin around and I'll show you some of the trees near me. You can see up here, these are the trees across the road. These are really getting the bath of the wind. I've got a lot of trees in my area, which will hopefully shelter me. But at the same time, there's a bit of a risk of, you can see all the leaves as well, debris flying around. So I'll definitely not be leaving my garden or my house. I'll just be staying in this area. I've actually taken the day off work today because I don't want to be working near trees, as it's definitely quite dangerous. So I'll just go around now and we'll have a look at the back garden. So as I say previously, the back garden is a tropical garden, so it's a lot more vulnerable to the wind, especially with banana trees and things. You can see around here I've got a Brugmansia. I actually forgot to move this last night, so I'm going to move this after I've done the live stream because this probably will get quite damaged by the wind. It's got lovely flowers, but it did until the wind blew them off. You can see a couple on the ground. Even this young one that hadn't opened yet has already been ripped off. And some of the leaves and the stems are actually quite weak on this as well. So I definitely want to get that moved into a more sheltered position when I finish the live stream. So I'll take you around now to the back of the house. This tends to be probably a little bit less protected, especially with the wind tunnel effect going through here. And the other problem is just the way the winds blow. It just, from this direction anyway, it's blowing, it tends to not be quite as sheltered. So I'll spin the camera around and show you what's happening. So the main plant you can see at the top there is my Paulownia tree. Unfortunately, it's a terrible tree for the wind. It's used to growing in like a monsoon climate where they get lots and lots of torrential rain, but they don't get very strong winds. So it's got huge leaves. The leaves can be a lot bigger than what they are at the moment. But you can see it really catches the wind. Also, the timber is very weak. So although it looks like quite a strong stem, it's actually hollow and it's very light timber, almost a bit like balsa wood. So there's a good chance that might snap off. I'm hoping it doesn't snap and the leaves get shredded instead. Unfortunately, I've had strong winds on this tree before and I've lost pretty much all the leaves and it's been defoliated. This happened last autumn. So I'm hoping the leaves will survive and I'm hoping it doesn't snap, but I think that one will be one of the ones that is hit worst, especially as it's quite tall and it's above all the other hedges and houses that are going to protect it. So there's a good chance it's going to get hit quite hard by this wind, unfortunately. So looking at the rest of the tropical bed, it's mainly bananas. The bananas are the main thing in this bed that are going to get hit bad. I have got some ground cover plants, like my Begonia grandis. These have been hit bad by the wind in the past, and I can see they're already getting a little bit damaged. I was hoping with all the banana canopy above, they'd be more sheltered. These are definitely very weak to wind, but being ground cover, I was hoping that they would be a bit more sheltered. So you can see here, these are all facing away from us. So you can see the underneath of the leaves. That's because although we've got a westerly, the wind sometimes swirls around, and because of the channel between the two terraced houses, it comes through like a wind tunnel, and we often get easterly winds blasting through here, even though the rest of the garden gets westerly winds. So you can see they're already getting kind of pushed that side. So hopefully they'll be okay. I have had them flattened before in autumn with autumn storms, but we'll see. Hopefully they'll be all right. The Ensetis will certainly be fine. They're low growing and they've got tough leaves. I don't tend to get much damage on Enseti bananas. Also my canna lily here. This is normally pretty tough against the wind. We'll see. This is in quite a windy location, so it could get shredded. There's a little bit of damage already on the wind, on the leaves, sorry. So I think that probably will get a little bit shredded. Hopefully not too bad. My gingers, most of them should be okay. They're further into the bed. I've got a couple of shoots here which might get damaged because they're a bit more exposed, and some of the closer ones as well, they might also get a bit damaged. At least this one here, the Hedychium wardii, is quite a thick stemmed one, so hopefully that means it's going to be a bit stronger to the wind, but it does also have wider leaves, so it can also catch the wind a bit more. So as I say, it's the Paulownia which is going to get hit the worst, and then my banana trees. So as the same as what I did in the front garden, I pre-shredded a lot of the leaves on these to try and help them to sustain the wind a bit better. At the moment, it looks like we've already got one broken leaf, which is a bit of a shame. You can see that's this one down here. I was hoping we wouldn't lose too many leaves, but we've already lost one. You can see that one there. It's already been snapped. And the wind's really just starting to pick up now. It's going to get much worse in the next couple of hours. So it looks like I'll probably lose definitely a few more leaves before the storm is over, which is a real shame, as the bananas have been looking the best they've ever done for this time of year. And I'll be uploading a video actually. I filmed it last night. I wanted to get the whole tropical garden tour filmed last night before the bad storms came, just so I can show you how the garden looked before everything got shredded. So they're going to struggle a bit. Coming around here, my bamboo in the pot has fallen over already, but I'm not too surprised. I was expecting that to happen. It was a bit of a shame because it was kind of sheltering my tree dahlia here. I'm expecting a lot of damage on the tree dahlia. It doesn't have the strongest stems at this time of year. The stems do get really thick and woody at the end of the season, but these are new growths, and so they're still quite soft. You can see I had a stem from last year there. That's solid, but the new stems are quite soft. You've already got some damage on the leaves breaking there. So I think this will be completely shredded by the wind, unfortunately. Even though the leaves on it are quite small, it's probably still going to get shredded by the wind. It's just a not very wind tolerant plant. And then I'll turn around and I'll show you my sunflowers. These ones are staked, but hopefully they'll survive. I'm not too sure if they will. I haven't had time to fully stake everything as well as I could have. Normally I wouldn't be expecting winds at this time of year. I would be expecting winds much later, so I haven't fully staked these as much as I would normally, but we'll see how they do. They are staked and they are next to my studio shed, so hopefully that gives them a little bit of shelter. And also I let my hedge grow a bit taller, and I've got that daisugi style of pruning on the top, which will hopefully help moderate the wind somewhat. So we'll see how that does, but you can definitely see the wind is coming from that direction. At the moment it's very gusty. The average wind speed seems all right because it's quite sheltered here, but then every now and again you get a gust kind of rolling over the hedges and the houses and hitting it quite hard. And then we've also got my bamboos in the corner there. I won't go too far into this corner because if I go past the studio shed, I know my Wi-Fi signal will drop out. But the wind often does really hit those bamboos very hard. I think because of where the studio shed is and because of the buildings behind, it becomes a real wind tunnel, and the wind really funnels through this part of the garden. At the moment, the wind isn't quite at the right direction to be hitting this like a wind tunnel, so it's looking all right. But we'll see. It'll probably get hit quite bad later on. I'll try and show you my lilies. Hopefully the Wi-Fi doesn't cut out at this point here, but I've got some lovely tree lilies up here that are looking really good at the moment. Hopefully they don't get too hammered by the wind, but there's a good chance that they might get hit quite hard as well. So I'll just turn around, show you my tropicals again, and I'll probably finish the live stream here. It's just to show you guys how the garden is at the moment. Very strong gusty winds, not too much damage yet, luckily, especially the Paulownia. I thought the leaves would get more shredded than this by now, but it's actually holding up pretty well. And so far, one broken leaf, but not too bad. So as I said at the beginning of the video, we've got beautiful sunshine now, not a cloud in the sky. It's looking like a lovely day, 20 degrees, it's probably more than 20 now. It feels really hot. Even in the strong wind, it feels warm. But what we're going to have is the winds will change direction. We're going to have torrential rain, even stronger winds. And the temperatures are going to drop by about 8 or 10 degrees within an hour or two. So quite extreme weather today. But anyway, that's all for the live stream. I'll try and get another live stream done at the end of today when I'm able to. I won't be able to go back out in the garden for a few hours now because once the rain clouds come over, it's going to be too wet and wild for me to be out in the garden. But when things start to calm down a little bit in the late afternoon and in between showers, I'll try and get out and film and see what kind of damage we've got. That's all for now. I hope you guys have enjoyed my first live stream with me in front of the camera, and I will see you guys, as I say, at the end of today if I'm able to.